here. But guys, we have updated the stamden builds going into Waking Flame. We've changed it quite a bit from Blackwood. In Blackwood, I just literally full sent damage on this guy. Maximum damage, no holds barred. But going into Blackwood, I decided I'm going to pull back the reins a little bit, kind of add some defense into the build. And plus, with the way that they changed the armor passives, I lost a lot of crit chance wearing medium armor. And so because of that, you know, I had to change up kind of like my build strategy a little bit. And so we kind of went for more of a, you know, kind of like a flat damage, slightly more, you know, with build with a little bit more defense instead of going for the big crits like we did last patch. But this is what I've been using on my stand-in recently. I've been finding success with it. So just what I've been using and personally enjoying. And like I say in all my build videos, if you would want to run something different, change something up, go right ahead. But this is what I've just been using on my stand-in, what I have been enjoying. The entire concept behind this build is to go for the large damage with Shulk's Dawnbreaker Whirling Blades. So just keep that in mind when you see what we're doing with the build. With our first set being Balorg. Balor giving us a line of weapon damage, and when you use an ultimate ability, you gain weapon and spell damage equal to the amount of ultimate consumed, and then you get penetration equal to 23 times the amount for 12 seconds. So because the stand-in is all about, we're going for that big one-shot burst with Shulk's DB Whirling Blades, we want our damage to be at its peak when we are using that ultimate. So Balor just kind of suits that really, really well. On top of that, I think it's a couple patches ago now, we lost Major Breach off of our Stamina Shulks, and so because of that, I really like Balor for the ability to get some more penetration. I feel like it's really, you know, it's needed to kind of push, you know, certain targets over. So Balor just kind of gives the stand-in really like everything it needs in a monster helm. Our main offensive 5-piece on the build is going to be New Moon Alkalite. So we run, it's got a line of crit chance, a line of weapon damage, offensive penetration, and 400 weapon damage, while also giving us a 5% cost increase. And we run this on the front bar only. So I used to run Hunding's Rage here, which I know some people don't really like for PvP. I personally enjoyed it because I built the build around having a really solid crit chance so that the entire burst combo I just discussed would have a high probability of critting and dealing crit damage. But now that crit was moved from medium armor to light armor, it kind of went away. And so I went to New Moon instead, because it accomplishes a very similar, it's a very similar set where it's just like a good amount of flat damage, but it doesn't have like, you know, it's only got one line of crit instead of two, so it's a bit more offensive. The 5-piece has more weapon damage in it, and so I just find it to kind of fit that slot of what Hunding's was doing for my build a lot better. The 5% cost increase really also isn't the end of the world for Stamden either. I feel like I'm able to sustain it pretty well, and so I do like New Moon Alkalite for my front bar. Now, my main defensive 5-piece on the build, which I know some people are not going to like, is 5 pieces of Fortified Brass. It gives me a line of maximum health, 2 lines of armor, and then a bigger boost to armor on the 5-piece. Now, I'm going to explain why I run Fortified Brass. So, personally, I wouldn't really like Ancient Dragon Guard for the Stamden. I actually think that the Stamden, at least for me, I kind of want that 5-piece armor active at all times. I don't really want it kind of turning on and off. I really would prefer the armor active at all times because I feel the build has enough damage anyway that I don't really need the extra 300 that I would be getting from Ancient Dragon Guard. Also, you know, people are going to be thinking, why don't you use Pariah? The reason I don't use Pariah is because Hrothgar's Chill. Hrothgar's Chill exists, and I don't want to run on Death and Vampirism on this build to pair with Pariah. Because the problem is that I personally feel that Pariah without Undeath will cause you to just take so much damage as your health gets low. Like, for example, on my Stam DK, I still do use Pariah, but I pair it with Undeath so that when I do take that Hrothgar damage at lower HP, I still have the Undeath percent mitigation to kind of help dampen the amount of damage that I am taking from Hrothgar's Chill. But on this guy, I'm not a vampire, nor do I want to run vampire, and so I'm not going to lie, I'm hesitant to run Pariah, because as my HP gets low, I'm just going to get full sent to the graveyard from Hrothgar's Chill, because it's such a common set right now. Also, Fortified Brass will really allow me to run 5-1-1 on top of keeping New Moon on only the front bar, and so I personally have been really liking Brass. I've been finding good success with it, and so I've been enjoying it quite a lot. So that is why I have personally been using it. Now, ratio-wise, this build is not optimized right at the moment. What you should be doing is light belt, heavy chest, and medium everywhere else. I still need to recreate my Balorg helmet in medium. I don't have that yet. I actually need to go farm it in medium first or buy it off of the vendor. Don't have it yet, but eventually I want to get this in medium and put heavy on the chest. I am running 2 well-fitted, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 impen. Again, assuming if you are going to be running the heavy chest, you're going to want to go reinforced here because it's going to be better for crit mitigation. But because I don't have it, I still have the impen piece on. And then whether or not you want to run these 2 well-fitted pieces is going to be up to you, how you feel your sustain is. If you feel sustain is fine, take these off, run impen instead. If you do want the extra sustain, I like to dodge roll like a monkey when I play this guy, so I run the well-fitted. I do 1 robust, 2 infused, all weapon damage across the board, 2 sharpened New Moon Alkalite swords, defending Death's Wind sword on the back bar, as well as a reinforced Death's Wind shield on the back bar, just because, again, we don't want New Moon on both bars, so we just run Death's Wind on the back bar for the extra resistances. Now, for our skills, we're using Cutting Dive. Cutting Dive is going to be really good for the dual wield stamden. It's going to set our targets off balance, deal bleed damage, bleed status effect, also give us a bleed dot as we continue to attack the off balance targets. It's really good because we don't really have a traditional normal stun on the build. We have it from Dawnbreaker of Smiting, but outside of the ultimate, we don't really have it. And so a lot of times what you'll do is you'll lead in with Cutting Dive, use shulks, and then as you're getting towards your opponent, charge up a heavy attack so that heavy attack lands, stuns off balance opponent, then shulks will deal its damage. Speaking of which, we are running shulks to deal instant AoE poison damage after 3 seconds, and then 3 seconds later, it deals more AoE poison damage. I am still breaking the habit of immediately casting shulks after the first one. I'm still used to the old version sometimes, but remember that this will cast twice, so do not recast it until the second one goes off. I do forget about that sometimes. So just something to keep in mind. Again, the big part of our combo for the build is going to be that Whirling Blades, which deals AoE damage that will scale up as our enemies lose more HP. So it goes up to 100% more damage with enemies less than 50% health. We also do get the added benefit of the Slaughter passive, which is more damage on low health targets. So Whirling Blades essentially will double dip on that execute damage. So it's really, really, really strong passive execute. So very good for the build. We have Bird of Prey as well for our Major Expedition, plus Minor Berserk, plus just more damage from our Animal Companion passives. I do run Resolving Vigor on the front bar. A lot of times, you'll see people, when they run this type of setup, I think you'll see them run Arctic Blast on the front bar. But part of the reason I like Vigor here is 2 reasons. Number 1, New Moon Alkalite. Like, literally, so Arctic Blast is very expensive. And so to increase Arctic Blast cost by 5% is like, it's a lot. And so I'd rather have it increase Resolving Vigor. Number 2, my spell damage or my weapon damage on the front bar is so much higher than my weapon damage on the back bar. And so because of that, and because Arctic Blast scales with maximum health, I'd rather stick it on the bar that has lower weapon damage and stick Vigor on the bar that has more weapon damage so its heal can be significantly larger. So that is why I do have Vigor on the front bar for this build. We also do run Dawnbreaker of Smiting, which gives us a big clap of damage as well as a nice damage over time every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. So like I said, the combo is going to be Cutting Dive, Sub Assault, go in, Dawnbreaker, Sub Assault, then goes off into Whirling Blades into your opponents are dead. So very, very strong combo, and it is going to be what you see on a lot of your dual-wield Warden builds. Back bar, we go with Soothing Spores. This is going to be one of our burst heals, as well as proccing Major Mending from the Green Balance skill line. We also do have Arctic Blast as another heal that scales with our maximum health. With Minor Toughness on this build, you do reach well over 30k HP, so the heal on this does get very respectable. It also does give us a hot over 5 seconds, as well as some persistent frost damage that if it hits enemies 3 times, it will stun them for 4 seconds. So this heal, combined with Spores, combined with Resolving Vigor, combined with the passing heals from the Warden, I do think is enough. If you don't like Arctic Blast anymore, you can feel free to maybe run something like Trellis or Leeching Vines, but I personally like Arctic Blast myself. I do run Bull Netch for some stamina restoration, Major Brutality, as well as a Purge every 5 seconds. Very strong skill, a lot of stuff baked into this. Very, very, very powerful. And this is going to be our Major Brutality buff, and part of the reason that the Stamden can get away running dual wield. We also do run Ice Fortress for some minor protection, as well as some increased resistances. Just our armor buff, it's a very solid one at that. So we obviously are going to run this more for the minor protection. We run Shuffle Major evasion, AoE damage reduction, immunity for 5 seconds whenever we use it. Just a very strong skill, and you'll run this on most medium armor builds. We also do have Healing Thicket on the back bar. This is going to be our emergency, oh shit, I'm gonna die heal. The good thing too is that it's insanely cheap. So I will use this in situations where I'm gonna die right now unless I get a big heal. And so you could drop that Healing Thicket and just sit in it for a nice heal. I also like this morph so that I get the heal for an additional 4 seconds after the forest goes away. I think it's way better than the other morph. So I do like it for that defensive back bar ultimate. Stat-wise, let me just heal myself really quick so we can see what the health looks like for when I'm just kind of, doing things normally. 14.6k maximum magicka, 30.2k health with the minor toughness, 29k maximum stamina on the front bar with, don't hit that button, with about 30k on the back bar. So you just almost get 30k. Don't quite crest it, but our weapon damage is really good, so it's not the end of the world. 1700 stamina recovery, 4800 unbuffed front bar weapon damage is going to go much higher with brutality, obviously. And once we proc some glyphs and stuff, so with brutality up, we are going to be chilling at 5700 weapon damage. We have 6k physical penetration. Both of these numbers will greatly increase too with our Battlelord ultimate, so something to keep in mind. We have 18.4k spell resist with 17.6k physical resist unbuffed, and then 2k critical resistance. We do use the Serpent Mundus. Again, I find the recovery Mundus to be very stat dense, so we do use it for that reason. And then we do use the Lava Foot Soup and Salt Rice for more, or Salt Rice, or however you pronounce it, for some increased maximum stamina as well as stamina recovery. Racial-wise, I do use the Imperial. I do know some people swear by and love Wood Elf for their stamdens, but I personally am a big fan of Imperial. 2,000 maximum health, 2,000 maximum stamina, 6% cost reduction across the board, magicka skills, stamina skills, ultimates, dodge roll, block, CC break, sprint. It just applies to everything. You get a lot of effective sustain from it, and I actually found it a lot easier to sustain with Imperial compared to Wood Elf. That's just me, so I personally really like Imperial for that reason. We go 25 into health because I really wanted my health to crest over 30k with the minor toughness, so 25 into health gets me there, and then 39 into stamina. The reason I have Lycanthropy, somebody might be wondering, is that I was for the longest time running just the Werewolf ultimate on the back bar. I wasn't actually using it, but it was just there for the passive recovery. So if personally you don't feel the need for Healing Thicket, you could also run this on the back bar as well. Consumable-wise, I vary my potion based off of what I'm doing. Sometimes I'll go for the weapon crit pots for major savagery, restore health, restore stamina. I will use this if I'm not having magicka sustain problems. If I'm having magicka sustain problems, I will use tri-stat pots. So dealer's choice based off of which potion you want to use, depending on how you feel like your magicka sustain is going to be. CP-wise, we go to Biting Aura, because again, our big combo is entirely direct damage AoE. So Biting Aura and Master at Arms are going to be the two things that augment that. We then use Duelist Rebuff as well as Ironclad. Ironclad is going to apply to single target skills we're worried about, AoE skills we're worried about, dampened crits. It just really hits a lot of different things. So I find Ironclad to be a very effective defensive CP. On the red side of things, we use a lot of the new champion point stars. I think they're really good for Stamden. We do 1400 maximum health for Boundless Vitality. We do Sustained by Suffering for another 150 recoveries, because literally if you're in combat PvPing, this will be active on your character. And then we also get Pain's Refuge for an additional 1% mitigation up to 20% based on the number of negative effects that are on you, which if you're 1vxing, this will be a ton, so you get a lot of value out of this passive. But then I also do run Relentlessness. Even though I run an SMB on this build, I don't block as much as I do on like my Magplar or my Mag DK. I just don't block as much. Like I just almost use it for like the armor bonuses, to be honest. And so because of that, I think the major protection from Relentlessness is a little bit better than running Survival Instincts. But if you do block on your Stamden, I dodge roll on mine a lot. You can use Survival Instincts. Survival Instincts would also be good for dodge roll as well. But I personally like Relentlessness. I would say you could either run this or run Survival Instincts. More sustain will come from this, and more damage mitigation will come from this. So dealer's choice really depends on that one. That one is super flexible. But kind of your choice there. Rotationally, I don't think there really isn't much I haven't already explained. I mean, like I said, the rotation on the build is, I've gone over it a couple times already, so I don't think I'm going to rehash it here. Defensively, I'd say the biggest thing that you want to do is obviously you want to maintain Shuffle, your armor buff, you want to maintain Shulks, or excuse me, you want to maintain the Netch. It's getting late, so I'm beginning to kind of zone out a little bit. You want to maintain the Netch, and then typically the heal order that I like to go for, Soothing Spores for the Mending, Arctic Blast, followed up by Vigor. Vigor is then follows afterwards. Let me actually put my heal on the back part so I don't get anymore. Why did it give me Werewolf? Okay. So then I follow that up with Vigor, and that is like kind of like the main healing combo. But otherwise, mobility-wise, you're just going to want to be using Shuffle, followed by Bird of Prey, and that'll keep you nice and speedy and catching up with people. Also, speaking of which, if you don't want to run Survival Instincts or Relentlessness, another CP star that you can potentially run if you feel so inclined is going to be Celerity for increased movement speed. Gets another 10%. So up to you if you want to run that. I personally would either run Relentlessness or Survival Instincts, but Celerity is also an option if you do feel so inclined. But I think on that note, I think that hits everything on the Stamden. I don't think that there's anything else I have left to do. I think we pretty much hit everything. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today, guys, on the Stamden build. If you guys did like this, have any questions, if you liked it, hit a like. If you have any questions, comment below. For more ESO builds and other MMO content, feel free to hit the sub button as well as hit the bell to keep those notifications on. Appreciate you all stopping by today, though. Thank you very much. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see everybody next time.